Almost that time of the year when holidaymakers flock to the country's beaches, and while it may be a welcomed relief, the surf can pose a risk to bathers. In an effort to keep swimmers safe, the National Sea Rescue Institute is partnering with the city of Cape Town to conduct a cutting-edge study using a non-toxic dye to expose the flow of rip currents. For more on this, we're joined by Andrew Ingram, the Drowning Prevention Manager at the NSRI. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. Let's start with the semantics of this experiment. How exactly does it work, and what's the end goal?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. The fluorescein dye that we're using is a dye that's used internationally to track water flow, so rip currents or plumbing, for example. So the reason that we're doing that is that rip currents are quite difficult to see from beach level, and many people struggle to do that. So we're aiming an intensive campaign, NSRI working with the City of Cape Town and the South African Weather Services to highlight rip currents by putting this fluorescein dye into it and then filming it from beach level using a drone and from high-angle cameras so that we can show people very clearly how rip currents work, and then talk about how to avoid them. So the most important way to avoid a rip current is to swim only where lifeguards are on duty and between their flags. But then we also want to teach people what to do if they're caught in a rip current, what to do if they see other people caught in a rip current, and who to call for help. So all of those things are going to come together with a number of these experiments that we're going to run around the City of Cape Town by putting dye in different types of rip currents so that it's very clear and everybody can see how they work.
So are we going to see a situation then, Andrew, where our beaches over the festive season have dye in them, or is this just for the purpose of the video to then explain to people what they look like, how to spot them?
No, so we have a permit from the National Department to release in very specific places at specific times. So some people who are around when we're doing this filming might see it, but it's effectively only for the filming. You definitely won't be seeing dye in the water generally around Cape Town, no.
Has this kind of operation or educational campaign been performed anywhere else using these methods, and what were the results, if there is a case?
Yes, they have been used around the world using different types of dye. This specific dye has been used by the Americans fairly extensively and very effectively. And that's where we got the idea from. So watching American water safety or rip current beach safety videos and seeing the amazing color that they used, I got in contact with them, found out what the dye is, and made absolutely sure that it's harmless, and then applied for the relevant permits from national and local government. And the City of Cape Town has an extremely effective drowning prevention team who are really keen to do some cutting-edge work. So it's been amazing working with them, and I hope that this experiment is going to make the difference that we think it is.
Andrew, when we look at the numbers during the festive season of drownings, how often does it happen, and how many lives are you hoping to save with this kind of intervention?
It's difficult to say how many lives we're hoping to save, but certainly there are many drownings, fatal and non-fatal. So a non-fatal drowning is a drowning that is interrupted normally by rescue, and lifeguards and sea rescue volunteers, etc., make a huge difference in stopping these drownings. But I think that the most important thing is to educate people on what to do, because with the most dangerous thing that you're going to face when you're going to a beach are the rip currents. So it's to know how to avoid them and so on. And the biggest danger to people when somebody is caught in a rip current is not knowing how to react. So often we have a person, normally a man, who is a little bit older, sees somebody in difficulty and feels compelled to go into the water to go and help them. But this person has no training, So you then end up with 2 and sometimes 3. In fact, recently we had 7 people caught in a rip current at Plettenberg Bay. 6 of them went in to help an 8-year-old girl. And with lifeguards and sea rescue responses, everybody got out of it safely, but it could have gone very badly wrong. So I think it's really important for people to understand how to react, using public rescue equipment, knowing the correct telephone numbers, 112 from your cell phone, for example, and knowing how to call sea rescue, the closest sea rescue station, by Google perhaps. And then most importantly, understanding why you need to swim between lifeguard flags. It's not that authorities are being difficult or awkward. It just really means that if you're swimming between the lifeguard flags, you'll be safe and you don't have to worry about rip currents.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. The NSRI is putting together a campaign to help save lives. Lots of people caught in riptides during the festive season, and it leads to many fatalities.